here we go. All right, here we go. Welcome to Oddball. I'm Amin Elhassan, and over there, looking and I think feeling a little better is Charlotte Wilder. Charlotte, health update.
Yeah. We are on the up and up. I mean, I'm feeling better. I'm sounding better. I don't know if I'm looking better, but I'll take 2 out of 3, and I'm just happy to be here. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. My brain is slightly less addled than yesterday now that the
Nice.
trade deadline is over. And of course, we're going to talk about all those trades today. We're also going to follow on a thread that I found from Reddit of someone not believing that Robin Lopez is a real person. And with good explanation, I guess. So me and Charlotte decided to have fun with this and discover other players who may or may not be real. But first, we start in Los Angeles, where the Los Angeles Lakers unveiled the latest statue outside of Crypto.com Arena. This one commemorating the late, great Kobe Bryant. And Charlotte, if you remember back in the preseason when we were doing shows out in LA, we went to a preseason game at Crypto. I believe it was the Nuggets that we saw playing there.
Clippers.
Yeah,
Clippers,
Nuggets, Clippers. Yeah, there you go. And that was your first time experiencing the scattering of statues outside of Crypto, because there was no real rhyme or reason. If you've never been, they just kind of have statues everywhere along Chick Hearn Boulevard, along that entrance, not really symmetrically parted or put in any sort of pattern, just kind of strewn wherever. And now we got a new Kobe Bryant statue and plans for 2 more statues. Charlotte, give me your unbridled assessment of the situation.
First of all, this is all, this is nothing to do with Kobe before I say anything. This is nothing to do with Kobe. It's great that they honored him, obviously. Vanessa Bryant, I loved when she said he chose this pose, so if you don't like it, tough shit. Because before the statue was unveiled, there was a lot of speculation about what pose is he going to be in, and fans on Twitter were sharing iconic photos of him and saying, I hope it's this one, I hope it's this one. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know that these bronze statues, maybe it's specifically Crypto.com Arena that has sort of bizarre ones. But I'm wondering what it's going to take, Amin, for me to see a bronze statue unveiled and be like, wow, that's besides like a Degas ballerina, if we're being obnoxious.
For my money, I actually think the statues outside of Staples are pretty good in and of themselves. And like in a vacuum, if you just said, hey, look at a picture of this statue, like, that's pretty good. Looks mostly like the guy. This is on the higher end of bronze statues of people we're supposed to recognize, I would say. But then when you say, okay, what if I took all these individual statues that you seem to like them in, and just threw them up in the air and see where they land? Oh, that's the part I don't like. I wish that they would take those statues and like have them around the stadium. So at any entry point to Crypto, you are going to encounter a statue of someone great, right? Okay. And now that Shaq one, I think, has to stay where it is because it's hanging.
He's hanging. In the sky. Yeah.
But all the other ones, I think you can put them around. And just the layout to me is the part that I have the biggest issue with. I think the statues, most of them look fine. Just how are you laying this out? And then where are you going to put these other 2 Kobe ones? Because Lord knows they don't have any more room right there on Chick Hearn Boulevard, unless you start curving around back towards the media entrance and all that stuff, and the VIP entrance further back there. Yeah. Maybe. But like right now in that area, it's, especially on a game day, there's so many people there.
Right.
It's hard to even navigate through that, but we'll see how they do it. A veritable bukkake of trades, Charlotte, yesterday at the deadline. Not really any blockbusters, so to speak. We'll start in New York City, where the Knicks landed Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks for we all knew was going to get traded, Quentin Grimes, Malachi Flynn, Evan Fournier, and Ryan Arcidiacono.
I'm so sad. He was my favorite. Name a better teammate than Ryan Arcidiacono.
And and we have a segment later where we
Yeah.
talk about he's gonna come up later. Let me just put it like that. But obviously we record that before the trade deadline and before we got this news. And the hardest part, and I know Knicks fans are like, don't tell me how Bojan Bogdanovic is gonna help us while OG Anunoby is out with elbow issues and Julius Randle's still a couple weeks away from. Nah, I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about Ryan Arcidiacono because he was, I believe, living the best days of his life. He's living in New York City, right? He's a several year pro, so his minimum salary is well into the 7 figures, right?
Right.
And he's on a team with his college buddies, and the team he plays for, the Knicks, is good. So it's like, you can't get much better than that, man. You're hanging out with your buddies. You're living in this great city. You're making a lot of money. Wouldn't it be cool if we all got together and won a title in the pros after we won one in college? And then it all starts to fall apart. Got traded to Detroit, the worst team in the league. Here's the worst part. Detroit says, thanks, but no thanks. And then they waive your ass.
No.
So, yes. So I know what everyone's thinking. Well, he's a free agent. Why doesn't he just go back to the Knicks? Sign with his buddies, hang out with his buddies again. They kind of closed that loophole in the CBA a couple of years ago. So now when you get traded, you cannot get waived and signed back. And so now he's forbidden basically from joining the Knicks again until next season. But Charlotte, I think I might have a solution.
The Nets?
Go ahead. Absolutely.
Yes.
I hope you didn't break your lease, Ryan.
That is brilliant. That is brilliant because we need him back in New York. One thing that I'm worried about with Ryan Arcidiacono being traded away is that this guy, we say it later in the segment, in this episode, he was the first one off the bench. He was he loved his team. He was so supportive. I'm a little worried that maybe he was more of a locker room necessity than we realized. So get him to Brooklyn. He can go to every Knicks game.
All right. So a couple other things that happened, right? Patrick Beverley got sent to the Milwaukee Bucks in exchange for Cameron Payne and a 2027 second-round pick. We got this incredible tweet from Robin Lopez because he was Patrick Beverley's teammate for all of about an hour and a half before getting traded himself to Sacramento, where he got waived. And so then we get this nice little Twitter exchange. And shout out to Robin Lopez. Last night, he was at the game reading a book in a Groucho Marx shirt.
I mean, there was a tweet about Patrick Beverley joining the Bucks. Someone, Aaron on Twitter, said, I think Dame legit doesn't like Pat Bev. And I know they had to have a conversation with him first about it. Wish I could have seen his face. And then Claire DeLune, friend of the show, she quote tweeted it and said, I'm going through a divorce and also turmoil in my workplace. You know what would make me feel better? Patrick Beverley said no one ever.
You know what's funny? He's actually exactly what they need.
I know.
They need like a little bit of an toughness in there.
They need someone who can get under an opposing team's skin because right now they read as too nice.
I'm glad you've talked about getting under people's skin because someone who got traded yesterday for getting under people's skin was Grant Williams. Unfortunately, the skins he was getting under was his teammates. This is according to Tim McMahon of ESPN. The Mavericks were determined to part ways with Grant Williams after he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And one of the things he did apparently that was frowned upon was switching his sneakers. He was wearing Luka's to Jason Tatum's signature shoes. And look, that's always a dangerous game. When you wear someone's signature shoes, Nike makes a lot of sneakers.
Yeah.
Many of them are players who aren't in the league anymore. So you don't have to worry about these weird allegiances and stuff like that.
Do you think, though, that was Grant trying to get traded back to Boston?
Well, that would be funny if this was his way of kind of saying, never mind. Yeah. Well, he didn't go to Boston. He went to Charlotte. He went to Charlotte. Along with Seth Curry, who another person who might show up a little bit later in this show. Now, here's the thing, Charlotte, that Dallas did do that not a lot of people talked about yesterday. They got Daniel Gafford. And this guy has consistently, I feel like, been an under-the-radar guy who's like, yo, this guy is actually pretty good. He knows his role and he plays it well. For Dallas, this gives them a little bit more experience to go alongside Lively at the center position, but someone who can play alongside Luka and Kyrie and be a defensive kind of positive for this organization. I really like that deal. I think if we're talking about who got better yesterday, I think the Knicks got better. I think Dallas got better doing this. I think Milwaukee got a little bit better. And I think Oklahoma City's quiet as kept got better.
Because they got Gordon Hayward.
Gordon Hayward.
People forget 29 games of playoff experience. They need that.
He's been around the block. You know, there's a part I know people are like, oh my God, this old guy, he's washed. But like the reality is you only need so much youth and vigor. Sometimes you just need an old head who knows what he's doing. And Oklahoma City is really well positioned financially in terms of what they owe and balancing the salary cap. They're really well positioned. They have a bunch of picks that can make things happen down the line. So doing this deal really wasn't that big of a departure for them. I want to name one more winner. I think the Charlotte Hornets are winners.
Really?
They understood, and this is a lot of times happens when you have new ownership. Like, look, we're not going anywhere. Let's start cashing in on some of these things. We saw it started with Terry Rozier. Kyle Lowry, unfortunately, could not get flipped for them. So now he's probably going to go into a buyout. But you trade Terry Rozier, you trade Gordon Hayward, you trade PJ Washington, and you get back assets. And I think, that works very well for the Hornets.
Which conference do you think is tougher right now, East or West, after the trade deadline?
I think both are pretty tough. I think the East, obviously, at the top, when you have Boston and you have Milwaukee, you got to see what happens to Philadelphia when Embiid comes back. I think Indiana obviously improved themselves. The Knicks have improved themselves. The Cavs have been, tremendous, right? Since January. So I think right there, those are 6 teams in the East. Of like, if any of them went to the finals, I don't think I would be too shocked.
Yeah.
I think those are 6 really good teams. And then you got Miami that you can never really count out because every time you think they're dead, they come back to life. The West, I think Denver, obviously, this is everyone's favorite. I think the Clippers have really found themselves in the last 30 games or so. I think the Suns have found themselves, so they're tough. I think Oklahoma City is tough, but inexperienced. So I think they're talented. I just don't know how far they can go, having this been their first rodeo. Minnesota, dragging a little lately, but still excellent defensively. And they've got a couple of playoffs under their belt. New Orleans.
Yeah.
Trying to put some stuff together. And so again, it's like and then I suppose the version of Miami in the West is either the Lakers or the Warriors.
Right.
Well, you can say they're dead, but all they need is a little bit of a pulse and the sniff of a postseason berth, and things change. And so I really think we finally achieved some measure of balance between the two conferences.
I feel like a lot of people thought that the West was more stacked, and it seems like that has evened out. So may the best team win.
Got one more thing to share. This is from Dragonfly Jones on Twitter. Mike Dunleavy at the trade deadline, because both the Lakers and the Warriors obviously did not do much. I know the Warriors traded Corey Joseph away, but that was more of a cost-cutting move. So Mike Dunleavy, GM of the Warriors, this one's for you. All right, man. I was trolling around in Reddit and I saw this post and I guffawed. And it says, I didn't know Robin Lopez was real until last night. This is from Rumple McCrumple, which is a great Reddit name. Call me a casual. I don't care. I don't even really watch the NBA. But up until last night, I thought Robin Lopez was a made-up person. Let me explain. In that new State Farm commercial with Brooke, and who I now recognize to be Robin Lopez fighting over the ball, I thought the joke was that Brooke had a brother who was literally him, but with big hair, and it was just good CGI. Basically like the Cliff Paul ad campaign. Yesterday, I was at a bar with some friends, and the Bucks game was starting, and I saw this MFer in the starting lineup on the court and was just completely floored. Completely floored. And so, Charlotte, first of all, I'd like to just confirm to everybody, Robin Lopez is real. I've met him. I helped draft him, and he was a really good player for a very long time in this league. So just want to confirm that to Rumple McCrumple. But it did inspire us, Charlotte, to think
Yes.
of other guys who we're not quite sure are they real or not. And
Listen,
you got some names, and I've got some names.
we do. I also feel like this is sneaky one of the best sports gimmicks. So it's like, how do we not think of this before? Like players who aren't real. Do you know what I mean? Like as when you sent that to me, I was like, oh yeah, of course this makes sense.
Well, I wouldn't say players who aren't real. These are all real players. It's just I don't have any confirmation that they are actually real or not.
That's what I mean. It's where you're just like, are they real? I don't know. And I want to start this. No disrespect to these players. It is very hard to be in the NBA. It's just
Sure.
it's more of a vibe. Like I think people would say that about me. They'd be like, is she real? We don't know. We've never seen her outside of a screen.
There's so many people who, when I say your name, they know who you are, but they don't know what you look like.
Or
They've
like
just
or
seen your
if I
work.
exist in the physical form.
Yes, you might
Yes.
be. You might be Chat GPT for all they know.
Nobody knows. We'll see at All Star. I think I hope to surprise a lot of people by the fact that I am real, but there's no way of knowing.
That background's not doing you any favors. All right, Charlotte, get us started. Who is
Okay.
your first name on your list?
So I have a few different categories here, Amin, but I'm gonna skip that and just go right to the first thing that I thought of when you said players who aren't real. The first person that I thought of was Cody Zeller because you're like, really? Like I feel like and this is from the point of view of casual fans, because if you're a casual fan and you tuned into the finals last year and you were like, wait a second, there's a guy on the Heat who's 1,000,000 feet tall, very, very white. He's wearing a plastic clear face guard, and somehow he seems lovely at the same. Like there is so much going on there.
You're missing the signature part. He looks like he's in his late 40s because of his thinning hair.
Yes.
But I promise you that he's probably like in his early 30s.
Yes, he is. He looks like he should be a school principal. You know what I mean? Like, and so you see this guy on the court and you're like, oh, what? And then if you tune into Pelicans games, he's still there, but he's not on the Heat anymore, which makes it feel even less real. You're like, was that a fever dream?
Was that the COVID?
Yeah.
Charlotte, I will delight you even more that during COVID, during the pandemic, when everything was shut down, Cody Zeller came on the Batard show and was telling us that he's picked up carpentry.
Oh,
like
yeah.
That was his big thing, like his new hobby that he inherited. You know, some people were baking bread and stuff.
Yeah.
He was picking up carpentry, which again, imagine Cody Zeller instead of that clear plastic mask, just the goggles, and like a table saw, and it completely fits, right?
Most natural thing in the world. I see him doing a lot of like dovetail joints, you know, those like that you know, like really highly skilled stuff. Anyway, so that's the first person I thought of.
Okay. I see your Cody Zeller, and I bring up a name that we talked about a lot yesterday, Jacob Toppin. Jacob Toppin, I'm told, plays for the Knicks. He's the brother of Obi Toppin that you all know and love. Obi obviously plays for the Pacers now, but was once a Knick. And as I'm told, once a Knick means always a Knick. So, but Jacob Toppin, I just, when I saw the names in the dunk contest and they said Brown, Jaylen Brown, and McClung, and Hawkes, and Toppin, I was like, okay, you know, good for Obi to get back out there. And then I read the press release and there was Jacob Toppin. I didn't know. I don't know if this is a real person. That sounds like Chat GPT to me.
Yeah, I am completely with you. Don't know what he looks like. I just picture Obi when I picture Jacob Toppin.
I picture, this is the funny thing. So once upon a time in the league, there was this player named Tyler Hansbrough, right? Remember him? He played in North Carolina and all that. Tyler had a younger brother named Ben Hansbrough, and Ben Hansbrough made it to the league. I believe he played at either Purdue or Notre Dame. He played somewhere in Indiana because that's where they're from.
Yeah.
And Ben Hansbrough made the league for a cup of coffee. And Ben Hansbrough looked exactly like Tyler Hansbrough, except he was like 6'2" or 6'3". He was like a little tiny version of Tyler Hansbrough. So in my mind, even though I've looked up his basketball reference and it says he's 6'9", I still think of Jacob Toppin as like 6'2", 6'3" Obi Toppin.
Yeah, no, that totally checks out. You know, I mean, in the vein of brothers, I have a brothers category here. I'm just not sure, and I'm not sure that Seth Curry is real.
Wow. Okay,
Listen,
now you're
listen.
dipping your toe into like this guy plays and plays a lot
I
and
know.
plays well.
I know he's a great player, but if you were to tell a casual fan, hey, Steph Curry, one of the greatest players of all time, has a brother named Seth, they'd be like,
I see your brother, and I raised you another brother, Costas Antetokounmpo.
Oh, that's a good one. Because you can't put Thanasis.
Not Thanasis. We know Thanasis
He's
is
very
real.
real.
He's very real. He's real and he's spectacular.
Yes.
I hope he stays in the. I hope his time in the league outlasts Giannis's. That's right.
And I want him in the next dunk contest.
I want Giannis retired and Thanasis still on the bench, doing weird dances and warming up like a maniac. Right. Yes. But the Costas Antetokounmpo is another brother. There's another brother, Alex, who never made it in the league. I think he's in the G League. But Costas, I don't know if he's real because I've seen pictures and I'm like, that just looks like Thanasis. And now I have this fantasy that Thanasis is double dipping. Like he's on this team over here. And then he's like, oh, guys, you got an off day. Cool. Got to catch a flight to go pretend to be someone else somewhere else so I can get a second check. I mean, like, it looks like Thanasis with a wig on, like just a little bit more hair.
I'm going to be honest, I mean, and this is embarrassing to admit as someone who does an NBA show. And maybe this is a COVID. I'm going to blame this on COVID. Who does Costas play for?
That's a great question. He played for the Lakers up until recently. He's not on the Lakers now. I know that now. I don't think he's on a roster right now, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So
that makes me feel better.
Yeah, but
even more evidence that he might not be real.
It must be so incredibly difficult to live a double life like that. To Zach Morris, your NBA career, be one place over here and another place somewhere else? No.
Absolutely impossible.
You got another brother for us? We've got Robin Lopez, Jacob Toppin.
This is just a list of brothers.
This is just brothers. Cody Zeller, who's also a brother because Tyler Zeller was his brother.
Yeah, which people forget, including me a lot of the time. I'm gonna not do a brother. I'm gonna skip a brother here. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna say, and I say this with all the love in my heart, is Ryan Arcidiacono real?
You stole my name. No, that was my last name. I was like, I'm going to end this with a windmill here. I was hoping you would come with another brother, and I would say, I'm going to go with not a brother, but a member of a brotherhood. Ryan Arcidiacono. Go ahead. Give me your Ryan Arcidiacono, and I'll give you mine because I believe on my phone here, I have the information that is going to trump whatever Ryan Arcidiacono isn't real factoid that you're going to give me.
Okay, here's my Ryan Arcidiacono isn't real. He is one of my favorite players in the league because he is the first person off the bench. Every single Knicks timeout, every single end of a quarter, he is the first person up. He looks like he was CGI designed to be the star of a movie about the best white college basketball player, of which he was very good in college. And and the fact that he has taken that, he's on a team with all of his college friends. It's like a sports movie, and he's not bitter about it. He's off the bench. He is their biggest cheerleader, and I love this guy. But I'm like, are you real?
Bitter? Why would he? It's quite the opposite. He gets to hang out with his bros every day.
I just
living in New York.
He doesn't play. He'll play for like 30 seconds at the end of a game, but he doesn't care about that. And that's why I'm like, are you real? Also, his hair is just really nice.
All of that is lovely. All of that is tremendous. Mm-hmm. But I trump your Ryan Arcidiacono is not real factoids with mine. This comes courtesy of Nick's Muse on Twitter.
Oh no.
Ryan Arcidiacono is the first player in NBA history to play 20 consecutive games without scoring a point. Ladies and gentlemen, this man does not exist. He's a figment of your imagination.
He's a phantom.
He is an Apple VR. What's that Vision Pro thing called?
Yeah.
You put it on and it materializes him on the bench. He's not actually there.
That right there is not real.
That's who she's talking about. She's pointing at Ryan Arcidiacono.
You know what they call him? The Phantom of the Garden.
Did they call him that?
No, but now they do.
Oh, I love that nickname. Basketball Reference. Sign it up. Let it know. Update it.
So Klay Thompson. Now you say a name of another basketball player.
Wait, do you want to play the game?
No.
Okay, then what are we doing?
An end tag?
Okay.